Listen to me. 2026 is not just another year on the calendar. It is the year everything changes if you decide it does. This is the year you stop negotiating with weakness. The year you stop explaining your dreams. The year you stop waiting for perfect conditions and start building power in imperfect moments. 2026 is calling for a different version of you. Not the comfortable one, not the average one, not the one that quits when it gets hard, but the one that goes harder when it hurts. You don't need more motivation. You need more discipline. Discipline when the alarm rings. Discipline when the body is tired. Discipline when the mind starts begging you to slow down. Because the truth is, your future is being written in what you do. On the days you don't feel like doing anything. When the gym feels heavy. When life feels unfair. When nobody is watching. That's where the transformation happens. Every rep you push. Every excuse you crush. Every moment you choose pain over comfort. You are building a version of yourself. The reset is not dramatic on the outside at first, but inside everything shifts. Your self-talk becomes stronger. Your standards rise. Your tolerance for excuses disappears. You begin moving differently, speaking differently, choosing differently. Each small decision compounds into momentum, and that momentum becomes confidence. You stop waiting for motivation and start creating structure. You stop dreaming and start executing. As 2026 unfolds, the reset becomes visible in your results. The discipline you practice in silence starts producing outcomes that speak for you. People notice the change, but the most important recognition comes from within. You realize you're no longer surviving your life. You are deliberately building it. The reset is complete when your actions, your mindset, and your future vision finally align into one powerful direction. Discipline over motivation is the foundation of every lasting transformation, because motivation is temporary, emotional, and unpredictable, while discipline is stable, intentional, and reliable. Motivation depends on how you feel in the moment. Discipline depends on who you decide to be, regardless of the moment. When you rely on motivation, your progress becomes inconsistent, rising and falling with your mood, your energy, and your circumstances. When you rely on discipline, your progress becomes inevitable. You move forward even when the excitement fades, even when the work feels heavy, even when nobody is cheering you on. The truth is that motivation will never be enough to carry you to your goals. There will be days when you wake up tired, discouraged, distracted, or doubting yourself. On those days, motivation disappears. Discipline is what gets you out of bed anyway. Discipline is what makes you train when your body wants rest, study when your mind wants entertainment, and keep pushing when quitting would feel easier. Discipline is choosing the long-term reward over the short-term comfort, again and again, until it becomes your natural way of living. Discipline is built through small, repeated decisions. It is not created in a single powerful moment, but in the quiet consistency of daily effort. Every time you choose to do the hard thing instead of the easy thing, you strengthen your discipline. Every time you keep a promise to yourself, you increase your self-respect. Over time, this creates a powerful cycle. Discipline builds confidence. Confidence strengthens discipline, and together they produce unstoppable momentum. Living by discipline means designing your life around structure rather than emotion. You create routines that guide your behavior when your feelings cannot. You set clear standards for how you show up each day and refuse to negotiate with excuses. You stop asking if you feel like working and start doing the work because it is part of who you are. This removes the inner battle that drains so much energy and replaces it with calm execution. Discipline also changes the way you experience discomfort. Instead of seeing struggle as something to avoid, you recognize it as the training ground for your future strength. You understand that growth is uncomfortable, progress is demanding, and success requires sacrifice. Discipline teaches you to stay present in the effort without constantly searching for relief. You become comfortable being uncomfortable, and that comfort gives you an edge that most people never develop. As discipline becomes your operating system, your identity begins to shift. You no longer describe yourself as someone who tries. You become someone who does. You become reliable to yourself. Your word gains weight. Your goals stop feeling like distant wishes and start feeling like scheduled appointments with your future. Over time, your disciplined actions compound into results that transform your life from the inside out, creating a version of you that no longer waits for motivation, but moves with purpose, precision, and control. Pain is the price of power because nothing truly valuable is built without resistance, discomfort, and struggle. Every meaningful transformation demands that you pass through difficulty, and the willingness to endure that difficulty is what separates those who merely dream from those who achieve. Pain is not something to fear or avoid. It is the signal that growth is taking place. When you choose to confront discomfort instead of running from it, you begin developing the inner strength that no circumstance can take away from you. There are two kinds of pain in life: the pain of discipline and the pain of regret. The pain of discipline is temporary and purposeful. It hurts in a moment, but it builds strength, skill, and confidence. The pain of regret is permanent and heavy. It comes from knowing you could have done more, become more, pushed harder, and chose not to. Those who understand this learn to welcome the right kind of pain because they know it is shaping their future. Every challenge you face is an opportunity to forge resilience. When your body is tired, your mind is overwhelmed, or your circumstances feel unfair, you are standing in the exact place where power is created. Each time, you continue forward instead of stopping. You are training your mind to obey your goals rather than your feelings. Over time, this ability becomes one of your greatest strengths. You stop being controlled by comfort and start being driven by purpose. Pain also strips away illusions. It reveals your true priorities, your real character, and the depth of your commitment. When things are easy, anyone can say they are dedicated. When things are hard, only those who are serious continue. This is why struggle is such a powerful teacher. It exposes weaknesses, but it also builds them into strengths if you remain in the process long enough. The more you choose the difficult path, the more powerful you become. You start developing mental toughness, emotional control, and self-trust. You realize that you are capable of far more than you once believed. The very experiences that once intimidated you become the experiences that define you. What once felt impossible becomes your new standard. Over time, you begin to see pain differently. It no longer feels like punishment. It feels like preparation. You understand that every hard workout, every long night of effort, every moment of doubt you push through is adding another layer to the person you are becoming. You are building not just success, but a strong identity rooted in resilience and courage. This understanding transforms your relationship with struggle. Instead of asking why something is hard, you start asking what it is building within you. You stop seeking the easiest route and start choosing the one that strengthens you the most. Through this process, pain becomes your training partner, your teacher, and your gateway to a level of power that comfort could never create. An identity shift is the moment you stop trying to change your life and start changing who you believe you are. Most people attempt transformation by focusing on external actions while their internal self-image remains the same, which is why the change rarely lasts. When your identity stays rooted in the past, your behavior eventually returns to match it. Real growth happens when you redefine yourself from the inside and allow your actions to rise in alignment with that new identity. An identity shift begins with a decision. You decide that the old version of you no longer fits the future you want. You stop labeling yourself with past failures, limitations, and habits, and start identifying with the qualities of the person you are becoming. You no longer say, "I'm trying to be disciplined." You say, "I am disciplined." You no longer say, "I want to be confident." You say, "I am confident." This change in language is not superficial. It is a signal to your mind that a new standard has been set. Once your identity changes, your choices begin to follow naturally. You no longer force yourself to act in a certain way. You act that way because it feels consistent with who you are. A person who sees themselves as strong will naturally train. A person who sees themselves as focused will naturally protect their time. A person who sees themselves as driven will naturally pursue their goals even when it is difficult. This removes the constant internal struggle and replaces it with clarity and alignment. An identity shift also raises your standards. You stop tolerating behaviors, environments, and relationships that conflict with your new self-image. You become more selective with your time, your energy, and your attention. You stop negotiating with habits that pull you backward because they no longer match the person you believe yourself to be. Your life begins to organize itself around this new identity. This shift is reinforced through repeated action. Each time you act in alignment with your new identity, it becomes more real and more stable. Each small victory strengthens your belief in yourself. Over time, the new identity becomes automatic. You no longer need reminders. You no longer need external validation. Your sense of self becomes solid, and your behavior follows it without resistance. As this process continues, your confidence deepens. Not the loud kind, but the quiet, grounded confidence that comes from self-trust. You know who you are. You know what you stand for. You know what you are working toward. This certainty gives you emotional stability and mental resilience. Challenges no longer shake your foundation because your identity is not built on circumstances but on intention. Eventually, the shift becomes visible to the world around you. People notice the way you move, speak, and decide. They sense your clarity and your direction. But the most important change is internal. You no longer feel like you're chasing a better version of yourself. You feel like you're finally living as the person you were meant to be. The urgency of time is the invisible force that shapes every outcome in your life, whether you acknowledge it or not. Every day that passes is a piece of your life that you will never get back. And yet most people treat time as if it is endless. They delay their goals, postpone their effort, and convince themselves that they will start tomorrow, next week, or next year. What they fail to realize is that time does not pause for anyone. It moves forward without permission, carrying either your progress or your regrets with it. Understanding this creates a powerful sense of urgency that transforms how you live. When you truly recognize the value of time, your priorities shift. You stop wasting hours on distractions that add no value to your future. You become more intentional with how you spend your days, because you understand that your days become your life. Each decision you make is a vote for the direction you are heading. Small choices repeated consistently shape massive results, and those results are built on how you invest your time. Urgency does not mean rushing through life in panic. It means moving with purpose. It means acting on what matters instead of waiting for perfect conditions that may never arrive. You stop overthinking and start executing. You stop waiting for motivation and start building momentum. The moment you develop urgency, procrastination loses its grip because you're no longer willing to trade your future for temporary comfort. Urgency sharpens your focus. You become more aware of what truly deserves your attention and what is merely noise. You protect your schedule, your energy, and your mental space because you know that anything you give your time to is shaping your destiny. You no longer allow yourself to drift. You choose direction. You choose growth. You choose to become better today than you were yesterday. Living with urgency also strengthens your courage. When you understand that time is limited, fear loses its power. You stop hesitating to take action, to speak up, to pursue opportunities, and to chase your vision. You stop shrinking yourself for the comfort of others. You realize that the cost of inaction is far greater than the risk of failure. Regret becomes your greatest enemy, and effort becomes your greatest ally. As this mindset deepens, your life gains momentum. You move with clarity. You act with intention. You no longer postpone your potential. You begin creating the future you once only imagined. The urgency of time becomes the fuel that drives your discipline, your growth, and your determination, pushing you to live fully, boldly, and without excuses. And if this message helped ignite your mindset and your future, then show your support by hitting the like button, leaving a comment, and subscribing to the channel.